Hi, Dom Famularo here, the Sessions panel. This has been so exciting to be able to reach out to people around the world and have all of these interviews on the YouTube channel, the Sessions panel. This artist series now, because of the challenges that we have with this current virus, is now at a distance. The artist series at a distance. So it allows us to bring people in from their homes, wherever they are around the world. And today I want to welcome Paul Quin. Paul, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, come on. Anytime.
This is great, Paul. Listen, I've known you for many, many years, and I've worked with you on many of our panels, many of the different projects that we've done. It's so exciting to see in what you have done to balance your musical skills as a fantastic drummer and singer, and also your legal skills that you have done with your law firm. So this really is an incredible topic to talk about. We have a wonderful interview with you on the Sessions panel on the YouTube channel that people can go and see more of the in-depth Paul Quin. But right now I want to capture, what are you doing now with the challenges of being home? What exactly are you doing?
Well, you know, I spend some time counting my blessings, really, over the fact that I'm fully aware I'm one of the privileged ones that still has the ability to work from home. So I am working hard. In fact, I'm taking more calls now than I generally take when I'm at work, because most of my clients are at home twiddling their thumbs and they're thinking, oh, what should I do? You know, I got some business to take care of. So yeah, I'm working just as much as ever. I've also got a house full. You know, I have a college-age daughter who's now studying from home. I have a wife who's teaching from home. I have a 15-year-old boy who's taking classes from home. So yeah, this is a Wi-Fi disaster, a busy household, but you know, we're blessed to be able to be together, and we're blessed to all be able to do what we do.
Well, you're facing the challenges that I'm sure many people are facing right now, how to be able to reevaluate this new normal that we're experiencing.
Yeah, and you know, it's become more normal than we anticipated, and it might be normal for several months to come. I mean, and that's the truth of the matter. So I think the goal is to still accomplish the things you need to accomplish, stay positive, stay responsible, and stay on top of the things that, you know, otherwise you might let slip.
You know, I really enjoy something that you've done recently, Paul, where you're putting these short little clips about legal issues that pertain to musicians. And I saw the first couple of ones where you focused on copyright. So just talk about what you're doing with that, because what I love is at the end, it pans back and here you are in this fantastic little drum kit. Huge.
Well, I have this very skillful photographer who's my daughter. I interrupt her studies to have her come down and point her iPhone at me. I mean, the idea is that we need to generate content to stimulate people at home. And you know, the truth is lawyers are expensive, so it costs a lot of money usually to get some fairly basic information. People pay too much money. So I get asked the same questions a lot. So the idea was, let's do short videos. I'm really only scratching the surface of the legal, the intricacies involved. But nevertheless, the idea is to impart some information, give people something to watch and maybe react to, and maybe generate thought, because a busy mind really helps deal with the boredom of social isolation. And so, you know, that's the goal. And to do it under the Sessions umbrella is just a pleasure and a privilege.
Paul, what's so exciting and refreshing is this drum kit that you're using in those vignettes. It's kind of like a concocted, weird, you got to tell me about that set.
Well, maybe I'll tell you where it comes from. I do a lot of gigs with this remarkable guitar player called Sean Hopper, who's a finger-picking maestro, and we play in a trio with a violinist. Well, they play so many notes that what I discovered was having a real kit with all its overtones and everything else, it didn't work. So I developed this kit with the help of Don Lombardi over at DW. I'm privileged enough to play DW and Latin percussion. So all it is a cajon, which I sit on, which has a DW pedal, and the pedal is cable driven so that the actual pedal part is in the right position, although the beater is hitting right between my legs. Then I have a 10-inch Latin percussion wooden snare cajon. It's a little cylindrical thing with a sound hole in the side, and it's double-sided, so one side is rough so you can play with brushes. When I say you can play with brushes, what I mean is you can play with brushes. I can't play with brushes. I'm a brush owner. I am not a brush player. So we have that, and then I'm using Vic Firth sticks. They're not actually full drumsticks. They're the little rods. And then I've got a hi-hat cymbal. I've been a Zildjian player since 1982. So I have these beautiful 14-inch K hats, and I play a K Constantinople ride cymbal and a little splash cymbal. And I can play any groove that I am capable of playing. Anything I can play on a drum kit, I can play on that. Now, it's got fewer overtones. It's got great crack. And just, I would strongly recommend any drummer out there should spend as much time as possible learning to play bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat. Because the bigger the kit, to me, I'm sure there's a limit. I've actually sat behind Terry Bozzio's kit, and I will tell you that's not easy to play. But generally speaking, the bigger the kit, the more you can rely on different sounds, the easier it is to rely on different sounds to do what you do. Having a bass drum, a snare drum, and a hi-hat will force you to think musically and dynamically and perhaps play a better part for the song.
Absolutely. And you have to play more rhythmically. You've got to be more aware of different stickings. You've got to be more creative on less sound surfaces, which again forces us to reach new opportunities of expression.
It does. And I play a lot of paradiddles and a lot of double paradiddle grooves just to give that different sound technique with a lot of accents and dynamics between the snare drum and the hi-hat.
When I read the comments on it, it's amazing how helpful it is that people that are not ready maybe to seek out a lawyer at least begin to think about the fact that when they get to a stage where they might be composing their own songs, they're playing with a band, all of a sudden when the legal issues come in, they should be at least somewhat prepared to invest into legal advice to give them the best opportunity financially to pull the best out of it.
Well, forewarned is forearmed when it comes to all these legal issues. And, I've lost track of the number of times I've told clients who have called me with a disaster, it is much cheaper to take care of these things on the front end than wait for the fire to take place and then have somebody have to put it out. Yeah. So my goal is to give people a little bit of information so they can take proactive steps and stop that fire from happening down the line.
Many artists that I've spoken to in the course of my life, whenever I speak to them, they always talk about if they had legal advice before they signed that contract, they would have been in a much better financial situation. So what little it would have cost to invest in a lawyer probably would have saved them thousands, if I understand.
No, tens of thousands sometimes even more than that. But, listen, I get it. Sometimes to have a lawyer review your contract might cost you several $1,000s. And people think, well, I'll roll the dice. And in the end, it may end up costing them 50 times that. So I've never yet met a musician who has told me that one of their regrets from their younger life was paying a lawyer. But I've met hundreds who said their regret is not doing so.
Hey. In Vegas, when you roll the dice, the odds are in favor of the house always.
Well, and it's funny. It's a good analogy because in any contract negotiation, one party has more leverage than the other, right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. And so it is unusual that a beginning artist has any leverage at all. The odds are clearly in the favor of the house and the party you're negotiating.
We'll talk about that, Paul, for a second, about the power of leverage.
Sure. Listen, leverage exists in every aspect of our lives. When we're kids, try negotiating with your parents to stay up later and watch more TV. No, you don't have the leverage to make that deal with them. It's the same in a marriage. It's the same in any relationships. And it's the same within a band. Often if there's a member of the band that is a principal songwriter, they have significant leverage over the other folks in the band. Well, whenever you're dealing with a label, you're a commodity to some labels. An artist is a commodity. And if you are a commodity that causes problems, they might find a commodity that causes them fewer problems. Having said that, that doesn't mean you have no leverage. Often deals from labels, from managers, from agents are more onerous if they think that the party is not represented by counsel. I've had situations when dealing with labels where they've sent a contract to the artist has sent it to me, I've sent a note to the label just to tell them, give me a month, or give me a week. I'm going to go through the agreement. This office is representing this client, and they'll respond and say, ignore that deal. We'll send you a new deal, because they know they don't want to waste time, because there are certain provisions that I'm just going to X through, and some deals are dramatically overreaching. Now, I will tell you, the internet has led to different issues as it involves with that, because now somebody who doesn't actually have the ability to meet a contractual obligation can print that contract off the internet and pretend they do. And so sometimes that can be a harder deal to negotiate, because often the person submitting the contract doesn't even understand what their obligations are. And unfortunately, whereas that should be a cheaper deal, right, because you should be able to argue and have more leverage over those, often ego and arrogance kicks in and it becomes a harder deal to negotiate.
And I think that's the real lesson here. I mean, as individual musicians, we want to protect our intellectual property that creates part of what we do. And that's really important. Even in the recorded works of what we do, we want to protect that so we have some kind of an income that can come out of that. And this is where the legal part is really very, very important.
Oh, and the number of people that go in to do sessions, it might not be a recognized, acknowledged, union paid, produce a split sheet session. It might just be come and record on my song. Yeah. And you know what? Everybody is fine with doing that, even if they do it for $50, until that song becomes a hit. Then guess what? The person that did it for $50 or did it for nothing is making a call and saying, I should be paid fairly for that. Well, good luck. Good luck on that, unless you can get something in writing at the time. Everything should be done in writing. And if you're the artist hiring those musicians, right, and you're paying them and they're agreeing to do it for that amount of money, you should give them a work for hire agreement. And they're easy to generate. Work for hire agreement is as simple as a piece of paper that says, I, bass player, drummer, guitar player, keyboard player, acknowledge that I am doing this session for $200 and I own no intellectual property rights, including copyright, trademark, in anything, and I expect I will not be paid any more money. Signed. Right? That would be binding down the road when that song becomes a platinum seller and that person comes back and say, yeah, but I kind of wrote the bridge. Guess what? You're out of luck.
It's interesting now, with the time that we have being here, the fact that we're not driving to work, we're not running errands with the kids and everything, we're home. So we have a little bit more time and freedom. Relationship cultivation, which is a big part of what we do on social media, but now being home, are you reaching out to certain artists to keep in touch with them to find out what's going on?
Oh, 100%. This is the best time to do that. We all get busy with stuff and we forget to stay in contact with people. And listen, I'm really privileged. I love most of my clients. I've reached that glorious stage in my career that I don't have to work with people I don't like. Yeah, so I reach out to folks. I've talked, in this last 2 weeks of being stuck in the house, I've reached out to a bunch of people just to see how they're doing, make sure they're safe, tell them I'm thinking about them. I've talked either through email, on telephone, with Vinny Colaiuta this week, with Steve Vai, with Nathan East, with Will Lee, with Paul Pesco, with Casey Grillo from Queen's Right, talked to him today. So yeah, this is the perfect opportunity to rekindle those relationships. I'm not trying to be flip and I'm not trying to be cynical, but this is a business of relationships. And this is the perfect time to reach out and tell people you care. Of course, it helps if you do, right? And I think my friends and clients know that I'm genuinely reaching out to them because I care. But it's good to let them know that you're still alive, too.
I know you work with Giovanni Hidalgo.
I did. I talked to Gio the other day, and of course, Gio is somebody that is, worried about this virus. He's an immunocompromised guy, and talking to Gio and hearing the most joyous human being on the planet,
really is.
It's just a beautiful thing. Yeah, I've probably forgotten 10 people who I've talked to in the last 2 weeks too, but
because I've spoken to some of them also, and they had told me that they spoke to you. And I think what's amazing about it is many of these artists that I'm speaking about, we have on interviews at the Sessions panel on the YouTube channel. So I guess if you're watching this, go back and check out not only Paul's interview, but of course, Vinny Colaiuta, Will Lee, Giovanni Hidalgo, but you also were in touch with Russ Miller, a phenomenal drummer and a very, very active session player. Great, great guy. Tell me about just what Russ is up to.
I've been talking to Russ almost every day. He's the busiest guy I know. Helps having a studio in his house. But yeah, he's not missing a beat right now. I've got probably 4 projects ongoing right now with Russ. You know, these are great guys, and it's a pleasure to be involved and working with them. And you know, I was watching, after I talked to Russ, I looked up his some of his Drumeo stuff. Oh my gosh, is he just an incredible player and a great
Brilliant player and a brilliant teacher, how he explains things. He's so articulate. Fantastic.
Yep, my hero, Russ Miller.
And his interview that I did with him is so inspiring when he talks about, you know, sleeping in a rehearsal studio and just believing in his career and developing his career from there. I had to go back and watch that. There's some really interesting, real, passionate, hardworking dedication that Russ has been through to build up what he has. You know, none of this stuff falls off the branches of a tree. You got to go out and work for it. And he's a hardworking musician. He really is.
He is, you know, and he's passionate. He's hardworking. He's driven, and he's prepared to suffer for his art. And you know, I hate to say it, but if you're a young up and coming musician and you're not prepared to suffer for your art, you might be hardworking and not that successful.
Yeah, we have had the opportunity at the NAMM show with yourself for us to have incredible panels. Last year,
that's been brilliant.
And those videos are up there on the YouTube channel of the Sessions panel. But we had Vinny Colaiuta, Steve Vai, yourself, and myself in front of a full room. It was absolutely incredible to experience their stories of what they did. And always what you offer is the balance of this business focus to make sure you're monetizing your talent and skills at what you do. And that was so evident with Vinny and Steve.
Well, and it was. And, you know, talking about those panels, I should mention that I've had a couple of conversations with Steve Lukather this week, who's, you know, he's well, and he's also, you know, hunkered down and doing his thing, frustrated that he can't finish his new record. But listen, those panels are marvelous. First of all, you know, I sit there pinching myself, and I'm fully aware that all those 300, 400, 500 people we've had at the last 2 years of panels who are sitting there on a NAMM day are there to see the other guys on the panel and not me. My goal is to somehow inveigle my way between the things that they say and provide some concrete advice and legal counsel building off the things that they say. And I think so far we've been real successful at doing that.
And remember, on that panel, I'm standing next to you, just so you know, it's me that's pinching you, just so you understand. Right?
Well, I wondered why it was more pleasurable than usual.
You know, it's interesting. This last panel that we had earlier this year at NAMM was yourself. Of course, I was hosting this here, but we had Leland Sklar, Steve Lukather, and Jim Keltner. What a powerful, you know, group of expertise and experience in the music industry.
I can't even envision having 3 other instrumentalists who have been more significant in popular music and the way they play than those 3 guys. Yeah. I mean, if we could capitalize on the musicians that they have influenced, we'd touch millions of people.
Yeah.
And what class acts. Every single one of them is just a class act and a pleasure to be around.
Yeah, real genuine people. What's interesting, too, is we spoke about at the beginning of that seminar about some of the challenges that we've had in the music industry from the past and how it was then to how it is now. But there are several ways to be able to overcome some great opportunities. So just talk about what you experience with some of your clients, about what you can do with certain opportunities that are available now that might not have been available several years ago.
Well, you know, the internet provides massive opportunities. I mean, it clearly does. As much as we complain about the digitalization of the music industry, if we had been in this home isolation situation prior to the internet, I think we would have been pretty bored of watching TV by now.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, the advantages that this gives, and I don't know if you've been watching some of these musical performances that have been put out. You know, now, one of the issues right now is many of these performances are provided for free. And frankly, musicians should be compensated for that work. But the advantage of having that forum is just huge. I mean, nothing like that existed before we had the internet. I mean, there was no way of doing it. So, but I mean, there are broader advantages in terms of being able to be self-sufficient in promoting your own music. I mean, clearly 25 years, 30 years ago, you could not get anywhere without a record deal. Yeah. And now you can get a long way without a record deal. You can be fairly independent and still have people have access to your creativity, and you can generate revenue from doing it at the same time. And this social isolation period is the perfect opportunity for you to spend time to work out how you can capitalize on those revenue opportunities.
Boy, and just to work on your craft, to make you a better guitar player, learn theory, chord changes, the skill base, drummers working and taking lessons. There's a tremendous opportunity now to really allow ourselves to grow to this next level that people try to achieve.
I've been trying to find as much time to practice as I can. Frankly, I have very little. Thankfully, I have these really cool pad sticks. I don't know where they came from, but they're killer, you know. So I use those every day. You know, as much as it drives my wife crazy, I have discovered that it does not elevate your household popularity when you think you can play on the pad while watching TV at night.
I want to ask you one more question as far as the direction of what I see, that you have been able to balance this legal, you know, part of you with this incredible artistic skill. Are there skills that you have had to use, like when you're in front of a jury and you're going through there, are there skills that you've pulled from your performances and your stage presence as an artist that you use in your legal issues? And are there legal disciplines that teach you that you were able to use in your artistic music life? Where does that
yes. I mean, I know it's a broad question, but yes. But I'll tell you behind that. I think in my experience of dealing with musicians, both as a producer and as a consultant, as well as a lawyer, people are not musicians in spite of who they are as a person. Their personality comes through in their creativity and in their playing, at least if they're an authentic musician. You know, if you listen to Victor Wooten talk, watch his interview with you on the Sessions panel page on YouTube, or watch his commencement speech he did, or watch his TED talk, and you can see that the quality of person he is manifests itself in the way that he plays. And I think the same thing applies to Steve Gadd. The same thing applies to Stuart Copeland, to Dave Weckl. You can just see the way these things work. Now, I'm not putting myself in any of those categories, either as a, you know, their equivalent as an attorney or their equivalent as a drummer. So, you know, but I think I am who I am. So certainly, and although many lawyers would cover their ears at me saying this out loud, but there is an element of trial or hearing, whether you're in front of a jury or a judge, which is performance. And being comfortable talking in front of people is a very important step you have to learn to be an effective litigator. And thankfully, I played some very big shows as a musician. I played plenty of small ones too, but I played several shows, well, many shows in front of thousands of people. And so it leads to a certain amount of confidence when you stand up and talk. Yeah. So I have taken that into the courtroom. Now, there's probably some judges out there who are going, really? You're confident? But I feel like I am. And I think it works both ways. You know, I mean, some of the confidence you have as a performer to go and be able to talk in the courtroom matches, and equally that ability to go into a courtroom and be able to be relaxed and talk about those things manifests itself in being more comfortable to be on stage.
Yeah. Well, that's really amazing. You see what you've pulled from both of them, and you are highly successful in both of those areas, which is pretty amazing, Paul, in just your skill base. As a lawyer, as a musician, your communication skills are very high, and you're really very well read. So that really kind of helps.
They're dwarfed. My communication skills are dwarfed when I stand next to you.
Oh,
but aside from that, I feel confident.
I steal plenty from you, believe me, for sure. And I'm still as you're speaking, for sure. You know, Paul, thanks so much. This has been great to have this opportunity to bring you here. I ask everyone to go back and watch Paul's interview and listen to what he speaks about as far as his beginning, the music that he played, the success that you had musically, and the challenge that you had that brought you into the legal part of your life. That's an important story to hear from your interview that we have there too. Plus, these little vignettes that you're putting together that are on legal issues of copyright, and then you're playing with this funky drum set. I ask people to go out and search that and find out where that is at, because that's also very helpful. It really is great. And of course, if you're at NAMM, come to our sessions panel at NAMM and hear Paul speak there. This is fantastic to have this chance and opportunity, the Artist Series. We bring you here into your home, Paul. Thank you so much. You have been fantastic.
Thank you, man. I love you very much. Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks, Paul. Bye-bye. We'll see you soon. Dom Famularo here, the Sessions panel. This is so exciting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Click the subscribe button to be a part of what we're doing. The views help us tremendously. All of your comments, we read them and react to them. This is incredible. The support you're giving us is great. The Sessions panel. We'll see you real soon.